Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. I'm Korrie and you're coming along for a class that was originally live on Instagram. So through the class you'll hear me stumble upon my words, you'll hear noises in the background. It was a class that was connecting to our community, especially those that were looking to get into yoga maybe for the first time. This class is an intro to poses, so we really dig into hip alignment and the way things ought to feel. If this calls to you, if this sounds like something you're interested in, get a mat ready and meet us in a seated, comfortable position. Have a great class. Getting started in our yoga practice today from a comfortable seated position. Allow your eyes to simply close. It's really important when you come into yoga practice to give yourself space to land and to arrive. You've carved out some time here to be still and then later to move. It's this first few moments where we start to differentiate what came before and what we're doing right here, right now. With eyes closed, you start to tune into the body, maybe scan from the tips of the toes all the way to the top of the head, see what you feel. We take this inventory not to be judgmental on how we're showing up, but rather to give credit and honor to some spaces that might need a little bit more care today, especially with these props that we have. If your knees are feeling uncomfortable, if this tightness in your back. Continue to scan up and down one more time, see what you feel. And then we start to lay the foundation of any practice. It's an intentional, mindful breath. You slowly start to inhale through the nose and exhale that same way. Continue breathing in through the nose, out that same way. And as you continue to do so, you start to take a little bit more time with every breath that comes. Maybe pausing when you get to the top, holding your breath in, slowly breathing out, maybe even feeling yourself melt a little deeper with every exhale. It might feel rigid at the start. Maybe you've taken a really deep, long breath that's a little far beyond your edge of breathing. Dial it down just a notch. Allow every sip of breath you take to be just a little longer than the one before. Pausing, filling your lungs as far as they can go, holding that air in, and then softly exhaling out your nose as well. These first few moments here are intended to find the rhythm that works for you today. Some days breath may be longer, fuller. Some days it might take more energy and focus. Layering onto this foundation of breath, we start to still the mind. Allow your sensation, every bit of attention to come onto how it feels to breathe in, expanding, opening, and what does it feel like to breathe out. Allow that to be the complete focus of where your mind goes when it starts to wander. Feel the breath enter in through your nose, feel the lungs expand, the spine lengthen, and then pay attention to every sensation as the breath leaves. Beautiful work. This, for some of us, might be the hardest and most challenging piece of a yoga practice. Every time you show up, it's exactly that, a practice. You learn a bit more, you grow with your breath, finding more ease every time you show up onto your mat. Taking just 2 more breaths, seeing the full expression that you have available today, seeing if you can stay with that for a whole time together. And then when you're ready, when those 2 breaths are fully complete, allow your eyelids to flutter open. And then just start to shift and sway into the body. From here, we're going to come to a tabletop position. This shows up in many yoga classes. It looks just like a table, believe it or not. Wrists will be below your shoulders and knees will be below your hips. If you have any knee discomfort in your body, you can keep a blanket underneath. If that's not something of concern to you, you can place it off to the side, totally your choice. Also too, if you're practicing in a studio with hard cement floors, a blanket might be comfortable, but if your studio has carpet, odds are this won't be necessary. So again, wrists under shoulders, knees under hips, tabletop position. Now notice here, if your navel tends to drop quite low, see if you can actually straighten in the back so that an object could rest there without falling. Molly's doing a great job here, a nice flat spine, and gaze is right down to the mat below. So thinking of your neck and spine as a long extension from the crown of your head, just the very tip, all the way to your tailbone, making a nice long line. This is your base, your tabletop pose. From here, we'll start to move through cats and cows. We'll start first in a cow belly pose. So just like a large belly, allow your navel to drop really low and tilt the tailbone. Beautiful. Molly will just stay there for a moment. Shoulder blades come back. So in the body, we've actually rotated so that we've gone from a flat spine to dropping the navel nice and low. Cow belly pose. This comes with an inhale, gaze goes high, and then transitioning to an exhale, start to round in the spine, tuck the chin under. Beautiful, a nice big curve, feeling the shoulder blades come down. Again, transition here, we'll go back to our cow belly pose. Inhale, drop the navel, squeeze the shoulder blades back, maybe gaze up a little bit. Exhale when you're ready, round in the spine, cat pose. Amazing, keep moving with your own breath pace. Inhale to drop the navel, gaze up. Exhale to round in the spine. Often I cue breath in our practice, and this is simply to remind you what to do when your breath arrives. You're trying to stay with your longest inhale, your longest exhale. So Molly will continue to move here. When she's ready to breathe out, she curves the spine. The lungs are collapsing here as we really compress. And then as she breathes in, the belly drops nice and low. There's tons of space to inflate and open up. As you continue to move with your cats and cows, you can start to get curious or playful. Maybe you want to bend in the elbows as you drop the navel. Maybe you want to sway in the hips as you lift up. We'll take one more round of cat, one more round of cow. Coming next into a really important pose in your yoga practice, child's pose. Molly will start to land into it. Knees will spread a little wider. If they're falling off the blanket, you can get the blanket out of there if it's uncomfortable, because we want to make sure the knees are quite comfortable. I'll demonstrate a couple options to use the blanket for. So again, knees go nice and wide in child's pose. Toes come to touch. We send the glutes to the heels. Chest lowers down. Hands come forward. Maybe your chin is on the mat, maybe it's your forehead, or perhaps a block comes underneath because there's a lot of tension in your back, something just to support you here. In our child's pose, this is a universal posture that tells both you and anybody participating in the practice that you're taking a pause. This is kind of your home base, a place to reset if things dial up a notch beyond where you're ready or craving to be. So look for comfort and softness here. After these first few moments, if you're feeling like your knees don't like this position, or maybe the tops of your feet are having difficulties, I'll show you some options. If you're in child's pose, just stay, breathe, feel your lungs expand into your thighs. If the tops of your feet are feeling uncomfortable, try using a blanket and place them underneath the feet. So your knees come onto the mat and your feet by result are a little bit lifted. With that, maybe you've now got a bit more comfort to come down. If still that's not feeling ideal, you can try having the shins parallel. So rather than the toes coming to touch, they're completely aligned. Again, lower down. If still not quite working for you, you can remove the blanket and just as an alternative pose in your practice, try puppy dog. So in this pose, hips and knees stay aligned, but chest still lowers down like Molly's demonstrating in child's pose. So just allowing a bit more softness in the lower body. Whatever pose you've chosen, connecting to the idea that no invitation is ever necessary for you to come here. Feel a couple more breaths, soften your chest towards the mat. Before inhaling your way back up to your tabletop position. Rebounding here, maybe swaying the hips from right to left, taking a cat or cow. What does your body need? Again, scanning it, it tells us cues along the way, always feeling like you have the permission to do what feels best for you. From here, we're going to come into our downward facing dog. We'll start nice and slow to walk us through this posture, spreading the fingers really wide. Step the hands just a bit further, because we're going to want a nice long line from the center finger all the way to our shoulders. Toes are going to be tucked. We'll start by keeping the legs really bent. Beautiful, Molly, shifting backwards. Press weight into all 10 fingers, and then slowly start to lift the hips, shifting them backwards, gazing towards the shins. Nice. I didn't even have to show this one. I have an expert here. So we're gazing between the shins, and we have a really long spine. So from the middle finger all the way to the tailbone, we're making a nice long slope. Because her gaze is between her shins, the neck isn't strained by looking forwards or backwards. We want a sense of ease in the body. I like to start with the knees bent because as we start to lengthen the legs, the hamstrings get quite tight, and what you'll see in the body is that it'll shift forward if the hamstrings don't have the room to stay in downward facing dog with bent knees. So keep those knees as bent as you need, really focus on that long spine. And if you're finding that there's a bit of a curve sensation in your lower back, think about your cow belly pose. Draw the navel really close to the thighs, bend your legs a little bit more. Nice. This pose, if it's your first one ever, it could feel like a lot of work, and maybe you're just about ready to come out of it. If you're ever in a class and it's feeling like too much, you could lower into a forearm plank as an alternative, or simply come to your child's pose. From our downward facing dog, we're going to walk to the top of the mat. Feet will come all the way to the top, landing in what's called a forward fold position. I like hip distance apart here, but choose a stance that feels good for you. Allow the head to be really heavy. Again, a gentle bend in the knee might help you here. By keeping the legs straight, if your chest is floating, it's not exactly the sensation we're looking for in a forward fold. Bring as much of a bend as you need and allow the head to come really low. In this posture, by having a lot of weight in the top, we can really release in the lower spine, start to feel the hamstrings lengthen. From here, you might be cued in a class to come into Ragdoll Pose. I think we should do that here. Grabbing onto opposite elbows, allow the head to hang heavy. From here, you can allow the head to sway from right to left. So imagining it's a really windy day, your feet are grounded and rooted. The wind comes by so powerfully that you sway. You might feel a release in each vertebrae as your head lengthens you down further. All along, your breath is just as strong as it was when we started class. With your next exhale, release your elbows, hands down to the floor. We'll do 3 rounds of halfway lifts. I'll demonstrate sideways, watching Molly's shoulder blades as she inhales, draws the spine nice and long, shoulder blades down the spine. Exhale to forward fold. Practicing that again, root the feet, inhale, lengthen the spine, draw the shoulder blades behind you. Exhale, forward fold. And one more time, inhale, halfway lift. Exhale to release, beautiful. We'll come to a standing position, sweeping the arms all the way up towards the sky or ceiling. And then hands come to heart center. Palms will come forward. Hinging all the way down from the hips, forward fold once again. Take a moment here just to settle into this forward fold. Our next posture is going to be our warrior one. So we're going to keep the right foot forward, and we're going to step the left foot back, not as far as you possibly could, so it's not your biggest reach. We'll step it back probably about 1 meter, but it all depends on your personal body height. I like a hip distance stance here, and you want to drop the left heel down 45 degrees towards the right foot. So right foot is forward, left foot is stepped back, both feet are flat on the earth, and then when you're ready, start to lift the hands up. If you feel any wobbly sensation, step the left foot a little bit wider. Beautiful. So in this pose, we want our hips forward and a real strong sense of grounding. Again, if that strong wind came, it wouldn't sway us from right to left. It would keep us exactly where we are. Take a moment here to ground the hips forward again, drawing the left one forward, right one back, and then when you're ready, arms reach up. Warrior one. Anytime we have our arms lifted high, the shoulders tend to want to come with us. Take a Big breath out and drop the shoulders down the spine. Stay here for one more exhale. Inhale to reach up nice and tall, straighten the front leg. Bring your hands down to the mat, step the left foot forward, forward fold. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Left foot will stay where it is, stepping the right foot back. Drop the right heel 45 degrees so toes are out, heel is in, straight right leg. Inhale when you're ready, come up. Start by making sure the hips square forward like headlights. Your hip bones are ahead. And then inhaling to reach the arms high, bending deeply into the left knee. Nice. As your hip opening posture becomes a little bit more experienced, once you become a little bit more loose in this pose, you'll eventually start to be able to align the heels a bit more, always looking to have the right hip forward, left hip back. But if you're new to this posture, keep it nice and wide. Really focus on grounding, stability. Hips are forward, shoulders are low. One more inhale, straightening into the front leg. Bring your hands down to the mat, step the right foot forward. Beautiful. So warrior one we've done on both sides. We'll come next into our low lunge to start. I like to always start with right foot forward. We'll step the left foot back. This time I like to go as far as I can. So really reach that left foot, bend deeply into the right knee. Again, we want a wide stance, so like we're on train tracks. I tend to get really fussy knees, we'll say. So you might want to put a blanket underneath your left knee if that is you as well. When you're ready, dropping the left knee down to the mat. And notice that there's a really big distance in my body from my left hip to my left knee. But if that's feeling uncomfortable in your hip flexor, you can shorten it a little bit more forward. Nice. Right foot is grounded, nice deep bend in the knee, ideally knee above ankle. Hips are again ahead, and then inhaling the arms lift, low lunge. Another tendency is to really dip into the lower spine here. Do your best to draw the navel towards the back. Shoulders are still soft. From here, we'll come into a full crescent lunge. If this already feels like the perfect place for you, please stay. If you'd like to straighten into the back leg, you'll come along with me. We'll see what Molly feels like doing. Take one more inhale. Exhale, the hands come down, coming into crescent lunge. If you're staying in low lunge, stay where you are. Tucking the back toes, pick the back knee up to start. If already you're feeling here any weakness, just come back down, low lunge. If it's feeling okay in your body though, really fire up the left thigh. And we want the left heel right on top of the toes as much as possible. All right, so we feel strong in our base. We're train track distance apart here. Okay, not a full train, hip distance we'll say. And then the arms will lift up. So in class, if this pose is ever called, maybe you come here for a few breaths, working on your strength building, and then you just drop that knee later for some rest. This is our crescent lunge. Molly's demonstrating our low lunge. She did the perfect alteration or modification, just dropping that knee down whenever she feels like she needs a rest. Safety is always a priority. From wherever you are, take one more breath in. Exhale the hands down to the front of your mat. Step your left foot to meet the right, forward fold. Ready to come into our other side. We're starting with our low lunge, left foot forward, right leg steps back. Again, if you're bringing that blanket in, once your right leg has stepped back, just move it under your knee. Dropping the right knee down to the earth. Hips are facing forward, approximately a 90-degree angle on the front knee. And when you're ready, inhaling, the arms lift up. Coming into these moments of stillness, come back to that strong, slow breath formation. Closing your eyes at any point if you really want to tune in. Hips are forward. Once again, check your posture in your low spine. Tuck the belly button. Here, toes on the right foot can be tucked or untucked. Choice is yours. Now, option for anyone who is curious to come into your crescent lunge from here. So again, we're in low lunge right now. If you're coming to crescent lunge, inhale. Exhale the hands down to the mat. Ground into the left foot, toes on the right foot are tucked. Inhale, lift the right knee. All right, feel that strong foundation. Make sure your hip distance here, otherwise it's easy to be wobbly. When you're ready, inhale, lift the arms high. Again, hips face forward here, Crescent Lunge. Notice those shoulders, are they squeezing up by your ears? Drop them nice and low. Big inhales. Slow exhales in through the nose, out that same way. One more breath in. And no matter where we are, we'll bring our hands down to the earth. We'll step to the top of the mat, forward fold. Allow your head to be really heavy. Maybe again, you come to your Ragdoll position. So from here, we've done two poses that have our hips facing forward. We did our Warrior 1 and our Crescent Lunge or Low Lunge. Next up is our Warrior 2. In contrast, our hips will face towards the side. We'll give that a go right now. We'll start with a halfway lift to reset in the body. Inhaling to lift the chest. Draw the shoulder blades back. Exhale to fold, and then heel toe your feet to touch so they're right together at the top of your mat. The right foot is going to stay, and the left foot's going to lunge its way all the way to the back as if you were on a tightrope this time, or a balance beam. So right now, my left foot is quite far away and somewhat aligned to my right foot. You'll then drop the left heel down so it's completely perpendicular. Your feet, if they were put together, would be a T shape. And then have a look to see if your right heel would align to your left arch if you were to draw a line all the way back. Nice. From here, we're going to come up to a T shape in our arms. Keep a deep bend into the right knee. Arms come up. And then just as mentioned, your hips are facing the side. There's a tendency here to place a lot of weight into the front foot, the front knee. See if you can ground into both. Another tendency here is to be kind of surfing forward. Check that your hips are right aligned with your hips. Beautiful. And then arms are approximately parallel to the ground. As you breathe in, your spine still gets long. As you exhale, maybe you sink a little deeper. Warrior 2. Take one more inhale. And then cartwheel your hands down to the mat, framing the front foot, step forward. We're doing everything here from the top of our mat. It's a lot of leg strength, but it helps you really focus on finding form. Once we go through these three poses, we'll move through a bit of a flow. All right, again, feet come to touch. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale to release. Left foot stays this time, lunge the right foot back. Like you're on a balance beam or a nice long platform, drop the right heel when you're ready, again, making those T shapes with your feet. And then inhale up to your T shape in your arms. Take a moment here. Whenever we come into this first variation of this pose, see if you need to actually bring your right hand to your right hip to peel it open. The left knee is going to want to draw in as well. Do your best to keep it nice and expressed to the left side, grounding into both feet. Big breaths in and out. And then finally, one more thing I tend to see in this pose is that the right foot likes to peel up. So you're placing a lot of weight into that front leg. The back foot tends to peel up. Do everything you can to really ground that pinky toe down. Take one more inhale. And then bring your hands down to the front of your mat. Step the right foot to meet the left. Heel toe so that your hip distance, forward fold. Now, option for anyone who would like to come through a vinyasa flow with us. If you'd rather skip, you can meet us in child's pose and we'll cue you back in when we're ready. This has a lot of upper body strength. If there's any shoulder injury or discomfort in your body right now, maybe take a pass or just watch this first one. All right, here we go. We're gonna come first to a plank position. After we inhale, halfway lift, draw the shoulder blades back. Exhale, plant the hands onto the earth, step your feet back to plank pose. Take a moment here, maybe your bum's high in the air, shift forward so that you are a nice long line. This next move is called Chaturanga. We'll shift forward so we're on our tippy toes, shoulders are ahead of our wrists, and then elbows will graze the side body as you lower down. Molly is doing a great job of modifying, which I should have cued, knees to the mat, and then elbows graze the side body. Untucking the toes, we'll inhale and lift the chest. So first off, you might come to somewhere where I am, shoulders are low. Do everything you can to peel them back. Push the tops of your feet into the earth. Nice, and then tuck the toes, downward facing dog. Once we're in this downward facing dog, bend one knee and then the other. Keep your chest towards your thighs. And then we're going to lift into the right leg. So keep the left leg exactly where it is. Start to lift the right one towards the sky. Start to bend in the right knee, stack the hips. If at any point this becomes uncomfortable for you, you can come to a tabletop position and play with that same experience. Exhale the right leg back down, downward facing dog. Switch sides. Inhale, lift the left leg, bend in the knee, stack the hips, open up. Exhale, downward facing dog. Slowly again, come to the top of your mat, forward fold. Little reset here, ragdoll position. Releasing the hands down to the earth. Again, we'll come into our very first pose we did together, warrior one. Right foot will stay, left foot will step back, but we'll start with a halfway lift, a nice yin to our yang. Draw the shoulder blades down the spine. Exhale, fold. Right foot stays, lunge the left foot back, not as far as you possibly can, about 3/4. Ground the left heel down, and then inhale, arms lift. So again, hips are forward here. One more breath. Exhale your hands down to the earth. We'll step into our plank position. So left foot steps a little bit further back, right foot goes to meet it. Option just to go right to downward facing dog. Molly will demonstrate our modified variation with knees lowered down for our chaturangas. I'll show it with knees up. Again, shifting forward. As you next breathe out, graze the side body with your triceps. Inhale, lift the chest high. Back toes, or all toes are untucked. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Now we'll go through that pose one more time on the right side, but this time from our downward facing dog. This is what happens quite often in a yoga practice. From this posture, we'll step into that pose. So lifting the right foot high towards the sky. Maybe you stack your hips, open up, and then we'll step the right foot through near our right hand. Nice. Going as quietly as you can. That could take some time in practice. Right foot is grounded. Pop the left foot in just a little bit. Ground the left heel. Inhale, the arms lift up. Warrior one. Sink nice and deep. Those shoulders, maybe they're squeezed up. Melt them down. One more inhale. Exhale, hands down to the earth. Step to the front of your mat, forward fold. Setting up a little bit of a sequence of routine here. Onto the left side now. Warrior one from the top of our mat. We'll start with a halfway lift. Inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Left foot stays. Step the right foot back about 3/4. Drop the right heel. Inhale. Lift the body. And then really peel the right hip forward. Nice. Again, grounding in both of the feet here. If it feels really tight in the back leg, just step in a little closer. One more inhale. Exhale, hands down, stepping back to plank position. Choose if you'd like to move through vinyasa here or meet us in downward facing dog. Again, shifting forward. As you exhale, lower the body all in one piece. Even if the knees are there for support to start, untucking the toes, push the tops of the feet in. Inhale, draw the shoulder blades back. Exhale, downward facing dog. Chest goes closer towards your thighs as you breathe out. Really activating the space here in your upper back. Again, coming into our warrior one on the left side, right from here. With your next inhale, Molly, lift the left leg towards the ceiling or sky. And then stepping the left foot through all the way near her left thumb. Nice. And then dropping the right heel down. When you're ready, inhale, lift the arms high, hips are squared forward, beautiful adjustment. It takes practice to know the exact distance that your body will like, and from day to day, it's a little different. Take one more inhale. Exhale, the hands come down to the mat, stepping forward. Coming in next to either our crescent lunge or low lunge, choice is yours. We'll start with a halfway lift, breathe in. Again, the right foot will stay, folding down. Step the left foot back as far as you can. Beautiful. Check first that you're hip distance apart with your stance. And then if you're going to lower the left knee down, maybe you bring in your blanket. Flipping your mat over double also helps. Left knee lowers, and then when you're ready, hips are squared forward. Inhale, the arms lift. Excellent. Molly here is choosing to have her toes tucked on the back leg. Perfect. If it's more comfortable in your body to have them untucked, that's okay too. One more inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, hands down to the mat. From your low lunge, pick the left knee up, just kidding, and then step back to plank position. If you were already in crescent lunge, you just simply stepped back and then choose your vinyasa of choice. When you're ready, maybe dropping the knees down to the earth, lowering the chest, beautiful, all in one piece. Inhale, draw the shoulder blades back, chest high. Exhale, downward facing dog. Resetting here. We've got this pose to get through and then our warrior two, and then we'll start to come into some yin expressions. So knowing with what is ahead here at any point, child's pose is available, or modifying, taking a rest, and just observing whenever you need. Coming into crescent lunge on the right side here from the back, Molly will lift the right leg all the way up, and then stepping the right hand down, the right foot down near the right hand. Again, possibly coming into a nice low lunge, dropping the left knee towards the earth. Inhale, arms lift up. Just 2 breaths here. And then an exhale will bring the hands down. Inhales tend to bring us up, exhales bring us down, and she'll step all the way to the top of the mat for a forward fold. Beautiful. Coming right away into the left side. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Left foot stays, right foot lunges back for a low lunge. Again, right knee drops down. Inhaling, arms lift. Making sure both hips are squared forward. One more inhale, breathe in, lengthen the spine. Exhale, hands down to the mat, framing the front foot, picking up the back knee, stepping to the back for plank position, choosing to move through a vinyasa or meeting us right away in downward facing dog. Again, the exhale breath brings you low. Inhale lifts your chest. This pose is either called upward facing dog or cobra, depending on the variation you take, and then downward facing dog as you breathe out. It's important when you do back bends to really listen to what your body is craving and only go gentle, activating in your glutes to protect the low spine. Here from downward facing dog, we'll come again into our low lunge, inhaling the left foot all the way towards the sky or ceiling, stepping the left foot through at the top of the mat. Molly does a great job here of demonstrating that not every hip is going to really like that first extension. You can use your hands to get the foot where you need it to go. Dropping the right knee down to the earth. If you're coming into low lunge, inhale, the arms lift up. Exhale to sink a little deeper, beautiful. One more inhale to lengthen in this low lunge position. Exhale, hands down to the earth. Picking up the back knee, stepping to the front, forward fold. Amazing. From here, we have our warrior two next to experience. We'll make sure that the feet are touching at the front of the mat. Halfway lift, but of course, to reset, draw the shoulder blades down the spine. Exhale, forward fold. Keep the right foot where it is. Lunge the left foot all the way back. Again, on that tightrope position. Drop the left heel down so it's parallel to the short side of the mat. Again, looking for that T shape in the feet. Ground in both feet. Inhale, arms up to your T shape. Hips are facing towards the left side. Nice. Take a moment here. Maybe this is the second time or third time ever you've done this pose. Feel both feet rooted, about a 90-degree angle in the right knee. Hips and shoulders are aligned. Sink a little deeper with your exhale. Nice. Cartwheel your hands down to your mat, frame your front foot, step back for plank position. From here, maybe you would like to take a vinyasa. If you're tired of those, lift your hips high, meet us in downward facing dog. Especially as the body fatigues, notice if your form is getting weak, it's better to skip doing something than to compromise in a joint and flop into a posture that maybe would be better off exploring deeper when you're rested. Again, here from downward facing dog, let's see what warrior two feels like. Inhaling to reach the right foot towards the ceiling or sky, and then stepping the right foot in between your hands at the top of your mat. Drop the left heel parallel to the short side of the mat, arms up to your T shape. Your right hand is forward, left arm behind, sinking deeper as you exhale. Just 2 breaths here. If ever you get tired in this pose in a class, you can simply pop the front leg straight to give a bit of rest. Yes, nice. Cartwheel your hands down to the mat and then step to the top, forward fold. Time for warrior 2 on the left side. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale to fold, left foot stays, right foot lunges all the way back. Dropping the right heel, just kidding. Ground both feet and then inhale, arms up to a T shape, warrior 2 with the left foot forward. Again, hips here face the side. Shoulders are on top of your hips, both feet are grounded. One more inhale. Exhale, cartwheel the hands down to the floor, framing the front foot, step back, plank position. If you're taking a vinyasa, shift forward, exhale, lower the chest all in one piece. Inhale, lift the upper body, peel the shoulder blades back, tuck the toes, exhale, downward facing dog. And just the left side here to do from the back. Take a couple breaths. This is the last bit of movement. And when you're ready, left foot lifts as high as you want it to, stepping it through in between your hands all the way at the front. Dropping the right heel, arms up to your T shape, warrior 2. Nice. At any time, if you're tired of this pose, this is a lot of work for the lower body. Take one more exhale. Cartwheel the hands down to the mat. We'll take one final vinyasa flow here, stepping back into your plank position. We'll meet in downward facing dog if it's your vinyasa. When you're ready, exhale, lower down. Lowering your whole body to the earth and tuck your toes. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, tuck the toes, downward facing dog. With your next exhale, shift forward, come to a tabletop position. Take a moment here to shift the hips from right to left. And then just for a moment here, I'm going to speak through a demonstration of Pigeon Pose. It was one of the requests to really speak to form today. And it's a really great hip stretch. I'll speak through it first, and then I'll give you a modification for anybody who's had any joint replacements or just a bit of discomfort or maybe past injuries on the knees. So from our downward facing dog is my favorite place to come to this pose. I like to start by lifting the right leg nice and high, stacking the hips really open up, and then you send the right knee all the way down behind the right wrist. Beautiful. So the right ankle heads towards the left side. If this is quite a new pose for you, your shin's gonna be quite on an angle, and that's perfect. Before you settle down, make sure your left leg's really long behind you, untuck your toes, and then I like to take a moment here, if it feels okay in the body, to bring the hands to the hips and square the hips. So the tendency here is that the right hip drops down. We wanna make sure that both are even, and then from here, you'll start to lower down. Using Molly here as a demonstration, if you find that your right hip starts to sway over towards the right side, placing a block just underneath the glute is a great way to keep the hip lifted. Again, those books or even rolling up your blanket under there is helpful as well. She actually doesn't really need this. And then for those of you who've tried this pose out and it's not really feeling all that great, or if you knew right off the bat this wouldn't be for your joints, you can either come to a seat. Let's just say come to a seat. Feet are gonna be down on the ground, hands are behind you. Start by crossing your leg. This could very well be enough in your body. If you've got space for a little bit more, that block could come underneath your left foot. From here, you're deeply feeling the stretch into the right hip. If there's any twisting in the left knee, start by drawing a deep flexion to the left foot. If that still isn't helping in the pose, maybe simply come down and just find a cross-legged position and pause here. For anybody in Pigeon Pose, as you're deepening into this posture, you're looking for a stretch in the right side. Even for anybody in this modification, it's the right hip side that you're looking for, never a twist or a discomfort in the knees. We'll take just 2 more breaths here. Pigeon Pose is part of a yin family of postures. It's typically held for much longer than we did today. Great thing to practice daily before bed. Your next inhale, if you're in Pigeon Pose, start to come up onto your hands. tucking in the left foot under, stepping the right foot back, downward facing dog, reset. You should feel a deep sensation in the right hip. Pedal out if that feels good, and then start to think of the left side. When you're ready, reaching the left foot towards the ceiling, bring your left knee behind your left wrist, and then your left ankle towards the right side. So I might even get you to move your knee a little bit further over. Yeah. Perfect. When you're ready, hips are square and you can start to lower in the upper body. Again, if this was not the variation for you, left ankle over your right thigh, flexing the foot. Drawing the left knee forward, right knee closer to your chest. So I talked about the option to grow in poses. In our pigeon pose, I remember when I first started, my ankle was on my shin was on quite an angle. So when the shin is quite close to the body, I like to point in the foot and almost roll onto the top of the foot. Point of the toes, roll to the top of the foot, and that helps protect the ankle. Hips are still square coming down, you're still feeling that stretch. But as you've been here for a while and you start to wonder, I could stay here for 10 minutes, what's the point? You can start to focus on drawing your shin more parallel to the front of your mat. From here, as it gets more parallel, a flexion in the foot helps to protect the knee. And we always want a long line down the right leg, hips always square, chest coming low. All of us will take just one more breath here. And then slowly coming up, we're gonna come to our back side. You can either lift first to downward facing dog, or if it feels okay for you, placing weight into the left thigh and sweeping your feet around. When you're ready, Molly, I'll get your head down at this side of the mat. So really important pose. We can't possibly cover every single one of them today, but this one I wanted to give some decent amount of time to really explain the whys and the idea and the concept of you to experience here. And it's gonna be Shavasana. Before we get there, we wanna make sure the hips and lower body feel good. So maybe Molly wants to draw her knees into her chest, wrap arms around the shins. Maybe you at home have some cravings in your body. It doesn't matter if there's officially a yoga pose name for it, or if it's just something your body really wants to do here. Our final pose in a yoga class is Stillness. So you wanna take the movements that feel good, that your body wants to shake out before it can land without agitations or wiggles. So when you're ready, eyes will start to soften, legs will lengthen nice and long, a nice blade-like position, maybe a V shape. And then upper body, many choices. So find comfort in your shoulders, maybe your palms are facing up, maybe you come to cactus, you can even have arms overhead. This is about finding a place where your body can be comfortable. Our Shavasana pose, translated, is corpse pose, meaning as still, as heavy. On your backside, restful, with eyes shut. Again, coming back to those slow breaths that enter through your nose. Allow your exhales to leave that same way. The mind often craves thought, might try to take you away from this space. Every time you roll out your mat, you explore different ways to be grounded, to be present. And maybe today it's through these next little rounds of activity. I want you to imagine you are on a really soft surface. Maybe it's sand at a beach. And as you breathe in, your lungs and body expand so much, it pushes that soft surface away from you. As you exhale, you collapse, your lungs close, and you start to sink deeper into that soft space. Feel every sensation on the backside hugging and caressing your body, safely embracing you exactly where you are. As you inhale, feel and imagine the side bodies expanding into that soft space. Pause. As you exhale, feel every ounce of you melt, collapse, be hugged further. Keep moving with your own slowest breath. Inhale, expand. Exhale, softly release. feel the warm embrace. Perhaps that imagery helped your mind settle and stay. If not, as we stay for 5 more breaths, try the concept of simply counting. As you inhale, breathe in number 1. Expand and hold. Exhale, breathe out number 1. Again, as you inhale, breathe in number 2. As you exhale, breathe out number 2. Staying for 3 more wherever you are. Last breath in all together. Pause. Exhale, let it go. Coming back to your normal rhythm of breathing, start to wiggle in your toes and your fingers. Maybe shake the head from right to left. Notice every sensation as life starts to come back into your still body. And then we'll gently start to come up to a seated or comfortable upright position. Take your time. Maybe you roll onto your right side first, maybe onto your left. And then eventually you come upright. You root into your sit bones. Perhaps your eyes are still closed. Take a moment here to reflect, to find gratitude simply for you for making this space, carving out this time to be here, to learn, to grow, to breathe. We seal most practices with a very yogi word, namaste. And the meaning of this word is that the light within me honors and sees the light within you. And that too can be true for you at home, just sending out goodness. That's all that there is. The goodness in me is acknowledging all the goodness that there is to be around, sending it out there. So all together, we'll bring our hands in front of heart center, palms coming to touch. Eyes are closed. We'll take a great big breath in, sit up tall. Together we will bow forward and we will say, Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Molly, most of all. Definitely getting used to what that feels like to guide through more learnings live. Let me know your thoughts. There's a bunch of videos that I've continued to film that are posted onto YouTube. A little less live, very much less live. But if there's anything else that you'd like to see live or have something customized, let me know. Got tons of beautiful space here. Really fortunate to have the ability here to continue to get to know you guys from afar. Most importantly, now that you've learned a little bit more about those poses, think about the postures, the positioning, and feel what's right in your body whenever you roll out your mat. If you have any questions for me, feel free to message me at any time. And most of all, thank you for being here, and we'll see you again.